Hi, welcome to our first reading lesson. Today is Wednesday, and we are going to dive into a shared reading experience on a nonfiction text. So remember, whenever you read a nonfiction text, we really want to pay attention to the main idea. So we're going to listen for words that repeat themselves or ideas that are repeated throughout our reading, and also look at those headings. So before I read any passage, the first thing I need to make sure that I do is read the title, hello Penny, directions and introduction. I also want to be thinking as I read, how can I chunk this out? That means how can I look at those paragraphs and think about the information? Because really I want to read one part, pause, ask, okay, what did I read and what is the main idea? There will be a dog walking through, so we just have to be really patient with that. Okay, here we go. So everybody in your packets, we are going to turn to the first passage. So I'll give you a moment so that everybody is on this page called Balancing Rocks, not balancing pennies. So again, we're going to go ahead and read the title. It's called Balancing Rocks. And I even see a picture. I see rocks that are on top of each other, stacked up. Okay, so maybe it's going to be telling you facts about somebody really balancing rocks. And of course, there's a directions. It says, read this passage, then answer questions 37 and 38. So we have to read this. Don't worry, we're not answering the questions. We're just going to read it. And then I don't see an introduction, but I am going to go ahead, get my mind ready, move my dog out of the way, and start to read Balancing Rocks. Again, it's nonfiction, so I'm going to stop and think as I read. Is your highlighter ready? Something to record as we go. Here we go. Have you ever tried standing on your head? Chances are the first time you did, you fell down. It may even have taken a while to master this upside-down balancing act. Artist Seep Bogle has a balancing act of a different nature. He balances rocks. Oh, okay, that makes sense to the title and the picture. So this is the guy that balances rocks. He balances rocks. He wasn't always a rock balancer. I was a cook and then a salesman before I began to balance rocks, he says. Okay, so great. I know in that first paragraph, it is about this guy, this artist who balances rocks. Okay, paragraph 2. Here we are. Are you with me? Years ago, Bogle and his daughter moved to a small town on the shores of Lake Constance in Germany. Bogle was sitting on a bench near the water one day, watching someone stack rocks on their flat sides. He decided to try it. It was easy, too easy, I thought. What if I turn them on their pointy ends? Will they stand, he says. Incredibly, they did. I've been doing it ever since, says Bogle. All right, so I've got my character, this artist. I know that he is a rock balancer, and he lives in Germany. So he was actually watching somebody do it, and then he decided to try it. Incredibly, they did, and I've been doing it ever since. So he was able to do this. Cool. All right, well, then I see a heading. The heading says, The Last Tree. Okay, so I gotta get my mind ready. Something might change, the last tree. All right, paragraph 4, are you all with me? Here we go. Bogle still lives and works in the same small German town of Rattlesell, where he and his daughters moved all those years ago. His studio is under the very last tree along a boardwalk called the Mole. Okay, it's called the last tree because his studio is under the very last tree along a boardwalk. I wonder if this is going to be important, that his studio is there. And it's called the Mole. Okay, let's turn the page. Where are we starting, everybody? We're starting on paragraph 5. Here we go. Tourists travel from all over Germany and other European countries to see the artist at work. Some come to figure out his trick. Bogle smiles at the doubters. There is no trick, not like what they mean. I don't use glue or hidden supports. I listen to the rocks. Wow. Tourists are coming to see him. They come from all over Germany and other European countries just to see this guy work. And there's no tricks. That may sound strange, but the truth is that humans do this kind of listening all the time. Listening to rocks? That sounds strange. Let me keep reading. When a baby tries to sit up for the first time, it's a balancing act. The brain has to combine information from the eyes, the muscles, and the balancing system of the inner ear to figure out how to keep the body upright. Balancing takes a lot of practice. Babies often spend at least 6 months practicing before they can sit up without falling over. Did you guys notice how in paragraph 6, it's starting to change? Instead of telling us the story of this character, now we're starting to see how it's giving us facts. Now they're telling us about balancing, how human babies balance, and how it takes lots of practice before babies figure it out. Well, a similar but simpler feat is balancing a ruler on one finger. If either side is too long, the ruler will fall to the ground. The key to finding the point where the weight of each of the ruler is equal. This spot is called the center of gravity. When you find it, the ruler rests on your finger in perfect balance. Again, do you hear how this paragraph is telling us information? Okay, we're learning from that. That's the author's purpose. Okay, well then now I have a new heading, the balancing act. This makes sense after all of this information I read. So let's start at paragraph 8 together. Balancing rocks as Bogle does is harder. Excuse me. But why? A ruler offers clues. The center of gravity should be halfway along the length of the ruler, near the 6-inch mark on a 12-inch ruler. So in my brain, I'm going to stop and I'm going to think, what did I just read? Okay, so his work is harder with the rocks. It's different than a ruler because with the ruler, you can use the numbers on it to help you. With the rocks, it's a little bit different. I can see that. In the rocks that Bogle balances, the center of gravity is much harder to find. These rocks can be shaped like lopsided eggs or pears and often have funny knobs, big bulges, or craggy points. Okay, so the rocks are just different shapes. The center of gravity is somewhere inside the rock. No marks show where to find it. And if the center on the point of the rock is small, it's hard to center the weight of the rock. Okay, so now I'm finding out that it's a little bit harder to do his work. It is a balancing act. Ooh, what's this? Some boxes of information. A lopsided equals having one side that is lower or smaller than the other. Okay, so the rocks can be lopsided. And then craggy, rough. So these were the words that I came across in this paragraph that describe the shapes of the rock and why it's hard to balance it. Okay, here we go. Paragraph 10. In addition, since Bogle balances many rocks on top of one another, the combined weight of the rocks has to be evenly balanced over the point the bottom rock stands on. It's like acrobats balancing on top of the other. If their combined weight isn't perfectly balanced over the person standing on the ground, they'll topple over. Okay? And then to balance the rocks, Bogle tries again and again. Wow, he does not give up. This tells me more about who he is as a person. These paragraphs were more the types of rocks he uses, what they look like, how he does it to balance it. And now I'm finding out that for him, he has to try again and again. He uses spüren, in parentheses, sense or feel in German. He says he listens to the rocks and lets the rocks tell him how to balance it. So he uses what's called in German a sense or a feel. And he listens to the rocks and lets the rocks tell him how to balance them. So not only is it a little bit of a balancing act, he uses his sense and feel. He says for him, it's kind of a meditation. For the visitors who journey to the last tree on the mole, that's right, that's where his home is. So for the visitors who journey to the last tree on the mole, the balanced rocks are a wondrous sight to see. Okay, that brings me back to what I read up here. People come here. He's an artist with a studio. And he does something amazing. And it isn't necessarily the science or just more a feeling he has. So the balancing act. Okay, I feel like this is mostly about this artist, but not just about him. It goes through and tells me the science of balancing and how he uses the rocks that are different shapes and is able to balance it using a sense or a feeling as he listens to the rocks. And he, of course, I shouldn't just say he, I should be more specific. He is artist Sepp Bogle, a rock balancer. All right, thanks for watching.